Manchester City are not as good as they used to be. That is not news anymore. They used to be so inevitable and untouchable back then, but these days they can't even seem to string 5 wins together. It is often said that the club throws money at everything. When they're in a sticky situation, they just splurge to get themselves out of it. It is what earned Pep the tag of chequebook manager among fans. But these days, despite the fact that they're still spending money on players, it no longer feels like the solution. So, what's up with that? We'll find out in this video today. This is why money is no longer fixing City's problems. First of all, let's face it, the transfer market is now utterly ruined. 10 years ago, 100 million could get you 3 really solid players who could become world-class with a little guidance. But these days, everything is so inflated that mediocre players are now going for big amounts. So, on paper it looks like City are still spending on the same level as they used to do, but in reality they aren't, because they're now getting lower quality players for the same amount they used to spend. Anyway, for us to have a proper answer to this lingering question, there's one question that really needs to be asked first. Was it really money that was fixing City's problems, or was it Pep Guardiola? Yes, he did spend a lot of money to build the squad he wanted, but there are a lot of coaches who have failed with even more expensive squads. I mean, look at Chelsea for example. They have spent a lot of money since the new owners took over, but none of the coaches have been able to take the club back to old glory. Real Madrid have some of the most valuable players in the world, but Carlo Ancelotti went trophyless with that squad, and his successor Xabi Alonso didn't seem to be doing much better before he left. Ruben Amorim was given a lot of money to build the team he wanted at Manchester United, but he ended up doing more damage than building before he was eventually sacked this year. So the truth is that it's not just as straightforward as spending money to fix problems, and it never has been. Good talent ID is important, as well as being able to come up with dominant and foolproof tactics that will actually win games and titles. Essentially, we could say that Pep had been the difference all along. The man is simply a genius, and it was actually because of him that Manchester City became so dominant through the years. However, he seems to be experiencing a real dip right now, and it could be down to many factors. You see, Pep has been the man to catch for some years now, so while a lot of people have been learning and borrowing from him, a lot more have been plotting to stop him. At some point, they were surely going to catch up with him. It's just the way the world works. Messi and Ronaldo are no longer number 1. Tiger Woods and Lewis Hamilton are no longer number 1. Bill Gates is no longer number 1. Their younger counterparts have since come to displace them. That's what's probably happening to Pep right now. Guardiola has been number 1 for so many years, which means that a lot of the coaches around right now have more information on him than he does on them. That alone gives the opponents a little edge each time they face off, and the fact that Pep and City are the ones to beat every time gives everyone a little extra motivation going into games against them. Back in the day, City would often blow the smaller teams out of the water, but these days those smaller teams are putting up a real fight, because taking points off a Pep Guardiola team is a massive addition to anyone's CV, so they try a lot harder than they would against any other team. This dip could also be because Pep has run out of ideas. The man has always tried to evolve his game through the years to remain fresh and unpredictable, but maybe the ideas he's coming up with these days are no longer as brilliant as they used to be. Or maybe he just needs rest. He has now been coach of Manchester City for 10 years, which means that he has not had meaningful rest since he took over as Bayern Munich coach 13 years ago. Perhaps he just needs a sabbatical, just like the one he had after he left Barcelona. Klopp said in 2024 that he was burnt out and had to step aside for a bit. So it is very normal for coaches to feel this way, especially after years of managing top players at the highest level and dealing with so much pressure. Basically, what we're saying here is this: if Pep Guardiola is no longer at his best, no matter how much money Manchester City spends on players in the transfer window, they would continue to fall short because the tactics are now more predictable and easy to stop. Another reason why it seems like money is no longer solving Man City's problems is because while you can spend money on players, you just cannot buy mentality. And it seems like that mentality is really lacking in Man City's current squad. Back then, with players like De Bruyne, Aguero, Kompany, Otamendi, Gundogan and the rest, you had guys who just never backed down. They never knew when they were beaten. So, on bad days, on days when they were not playing at the required standard, on days when things got really tough, they were able to pull themselves out of it through sheer grit and resilience. It is why they were able to produce a lot of impossible moments like the Kompany goal against Leicester City, Aguero's last-minute league-winning goal against QPR, the league-winning De Bruyne and Gundogan comeback combo against Aston Villa. All of that was down to the mentality of these individual players. In fact, even the time when they remained perfect from February to the end of the season to secure the Premier League title with Liverpool breathing down their neck in 2019 was down, in part, to a very strong mentality. Every winning team needs to always have that level of hunger and that kind of mentality in order to achieve greatness, but all that seems to be missing in this current group. These days, once Man City runs into some kind of trouble, it feels like they just cannot get out. And one big evidence of this lack of mentality is how they often collapse in second halves. According to Opta, if all Premier League games so far this season ended at half-time, Manchester City would be 12 points clear at the top of the table. What this means is that the quality is there. These players know how to play, they know how to create, they know how to score, and that is why they almost always start games well. But the problem is that they don't always have the mentality to grind out wins when opponents start to fight back in the second period. Until Manchester City find a way to inculcate that mentality and hunger into the new players, spending will still not be able to fix their problems. Finally, the pressure Pep finds himself in just makes things more and more difficult. A lot of purchases he makes now are done under pressure. They want a quick solution, so they just run out and buy a player in good form without doing proper homework. That's only a recipe for more and more disaster. It is how they ended up overpaying for Omar Marmoush, who obviously was never the best fit for the team, but they were under immense pressure and he was one of the most informed players at the time, so they just tried to use his signing to paper over the cracks. Back in the day, when things were really good, it was easier for the management to take their time to do proper scouting and pick the players who fit perfectly into the team. But they missed that window where they could have and should have done an easy rebuild while they were still at the top, and that has landed them in a very messy situation right now. Anyway, it is now time to hear from you guys. Why do you think money no longer fixes Manchester City's problems? What do you think is the solution to these problems they're currently facing? Do you think Pep should step down? How much success do you think this City team will be able to achieve this season? Get in the comments and talk to us. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the bell notifications so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye.